is John Belkowitz.
I'm David.
And we're here with Team Talk Tuesday. And today we're talking all about unicorns versus reality checks.
All right, let's talk.
When David found out, I need to stop fidgeting. When David found out about this subject, he said, and I quote, "Why don't you lead the discussion on this one?"
That's right, it's exactly what I said.
And when I say unicorns versus reality checks, I'm talking about those first, maybe sometimes second calls that we have with our clients, our brand new clients, who want either a concrete mix design or an admixture software, hardware developed, and they say, you know, we want this concrete to absorb blast loads, we want it to float, we want it to be made out of all recycled products, we don't want to use any Portland cement.
Costs $50 a yard.
We want a slump of 6 to 8 inches, an air of 4.5 to 7.5, a spread that lasts for 90 minutes, and we want it to cost, you know, half of what normal concrete costs. And that is a really, really cool idea. A really cool idea that doesn't really exist, and that's why we call it a unicorn.
Aha, now I get it, a unicorn.
So let's say we take that same scenario and we change it up a little bit. So let's say we just take the less than half of what normal concrete is. And normal concrete is somewhere between $85 and $175 per cubic yard. And let's just round it down to $150 per cubic yard as the average.
Round it
So
down.
half of that is $75 per yard. And a little bit less than that is $50 per cubic yard. Now, we can help you create a concrete that's less than half of what normal concrete costs.
Doesn't sound easy.
Doesn't sound easy, and the reality check is, if we're going to make concrete cost that little, we need to replace all the expensive things in the concrete and replace it either with free things or really, really cheap things.
Stress strain guy says sounds hard.
That's good, dude.
Gotta get that strength.
Gotta get that strength. So that's the other piece of it. If you're doing a flow fill, right? If you're doing a low strength cement stabilized soil, your water cementitious ratio is 3. You have 100 pounds of total cementitious in it. At that point, you still might have a rough time making $50, but you'd be a lot closer. Now, your strengths, 100 to 500 PSI.
Yeah, but maybe that's all we need for that case. I mean, that's the jewel in the pile, isn't it? That's the diamond in the haystack.
Well, that's the thing. If we focus on that $50 per cubic yard, there's little that we could do.
Yeah.
Now, if you want a blast absorbing, floating concrete that's made with no cement, all recycled materials, and it glows in the dark, oh, we could totally do that.
Just takes money.
It's going to cost you $15,000 per cubic yard. And maybe that's crazy. Maybe that sounds ludicrous, but it's also fairly ludicrous to expect that many combinations in one composite material is easy, or the materials that to be used are going to work together well enough that you're not going to have to create a cocktail like Tom Cruise's Cocktail and Dreams. I mean, that mix, and we're going to do that mix today. We're going to do a lightweight, glow in the dark, it's not going to be blast absorbing, grout. So it's going to be a self-consolidating, you know, it's not going to segregate, it's going to be densified using nanoparticles. And when we do the math, that's like $5,000 per cubic yard.
Well, I guess in a lot of ways that's what we do. I mean, if they want 10 things, maybe we can only deliver 3 or 4 out of the list, you know.
Unless they want to pay for those 10.
Well, we said cost was one of the parameters, so if you leave cost in, and you leave strength in, and you leave lightweight in, you leave floatable in, you leave blast in, you leave all those in, I'm sorry, something's got to come back out.
To make it a reality check.
That's right, otherwise We're looking for the unicorn.
We're looking for the unicorn, and we've actually done that before. Whitney and I have a video that we did on geopolymer concretes where we actually promised a government entity, a group that we were working at, a unicorn. And as luck would have it, as luck would have it, we found the unicorn. I mean, that first mix worked perfectly. Then I went threw the mix away. So 62 mixes later, Whitney had an epiphany. Thank you, Whitney.
You're welcome.
And we reacquainted with that unicorn. But, I
Mine
mean,
was pink though.
what's that?
I said mine was pink.
With glitter. That being said, we learned a valuable lesson that day of the unicorn versus the reality check. We painted ourselves into a corner, a very dangerous corner that we might not have gotten out of if it wasn't for when skill meets opportunity, and that's called luck. So we got very lucky, but the lesson that we learned is sometimes we need to give our clients the reality check. And that means we lose clients sometimes. And you know, we are very good at making magic happen. There's a difference between making magic happen and trying to find the unicorn. And making magic happen, we can definitely do that. But unicorns,
Hard to find.
hard to find.
Hard to find. Good advice, good clients.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we like to do with our clients right now, especially when they go after price. You know, for that same situation, you're not talking about, so you got what, blast absorbing, lightweight, no Portland cement, without glow in the dark,
Glitter.
That in and of itself, if you took that and wrote a list out, that is what I would call a high performance product.
No doubt.
And when somebody wants to sell it for $50 a cubic yard, when most concrete is going for $175, you're selling a high performance product as a commodity, less than a commodity based product. And again, you know, when we lose clients who are looking for those unicorns, sometimes it's actually in our best interest, because oftentimes those clients, even though they have a great idea, that great idea might not come to fruition because either they're giving the idea away, or it might work here in our perfect world, but out in the field, that unicorn, she just wants to run wild.
Yeah, you know,
Amateurs. Amateurs. Go ahead.
we deal with that in our own lives, John. I mean, you know, we want 10 things. I mean, we want a new car, we want to have this, we want that, we want this, we want that. And when it comes down to it, eventually we got to make choices.
Right.
You know, so it shouldn't come as any surprise when somebody walks in here with a list of 10 or 15 things that maybe half of them we can do, half of them we can't, or half of them have to change, half of them we don't. I mean, there has to be some compromise, and you know, kind of hate to use the phrase, but that's what engineers do. I mean, you know, right?
Well,
we design things.
And that is what we do for our clients. You know, when the folks that we work with recognize that they're going after a bit of a unicorn, and they ask us for our input.
Right.
That's where the compromise happens. And you know what we try to go after is their biggest concerns of, okay, why are you trying to sell this high performance product for $50 a cubic yard?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're getting some free materials and you can keep that price going, that is a short-lived product or a short-lived company. Unless that's the purpose. Unless the purpose of it, no way, it could be a very specific product for a very specific project.
Yeah, it could be site specific.
What was it? The World Trade Center Memorial? They got so many truckloads or not truckloads, container loads of a Denmark-based white Portland cement.
Right.
And it cost 5 or 6 times the amount as Portland cement that they could get in Lehigh, Pennsylvania, but they needed it for that very specific project. And again, it wasn't a unicorn. They realized they wanted to make magic happen with the color that they were going after, as well as the strength, as well as the other hardened properties. So they recognized that they wanted to make magic happen, but they also recognized they weren't going to pay less than normal cement.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. I like the idea of the site-specific, project-specific. I mean, we're starting to see in the inner cities, they're imploding buildings and whatnot, and they're trying to recycle on site.
Oh yeah,
And so, you know, they don't want waste to cross their boundary.
right.
And so when we're looking at waste not crossing the boundary, you know, maybe that might seem to cost a little more, but in the big picture, in the global picture, you got to pay to haul it, you got to pay to dump it, you got to do this, you got to do that. So yeah, maybe the ground up recycled aggregate is a little more expensive than something else, but in the big picture,
Right.
in the global picture as global citizens, it's a better solution.
So, you know, Unicorn Reality Check also goes out of the lab onto the job site.
Right.
You know, we had a client of ours who wanted to use recycled concrete aggregate, and I think we talked about this before a little
Yeah.
bit, desperately wanted to use it, and then when it came to the price, he was surprised that the recycled concrete aggregate cost more than, or was it equal or more than the natural
Yeah,
aggregate?
should have been free.
Should have been,
Should have been free.
And
It's
that-
right here, it's a waste.
and that's a unicorn. That is the unicorn
Right.
right there. I mean, again, you got to take the RCA, or you got to take the concrete,
Right,
ship it off site,
right.
grade it, crush it, grade it, clean it, grade it, and then store it, and then test it. I mean, all of that, then you test it, you might have to throw it away, but then you have to bring it over to the plant, and there's so much money associated with that. And to think, to be surprised that that cost money, that's what we should have been surprised at. And I think we were surprised that our client was surprised that, oh my gosh, this costs money? Ah!
Yeah,
Reality check,
we learned.
unicorn. They learned.
Yeah, we all learned.
And I mean, once they came face to face with that, the reality check, they ended up not going with RCA, which
Yeah,
was the tragedy of all.
yeah, true.
All right, thank you much. If you have any questions, concrete concerns, don't forget to like and subscribe. Go Concrete!
Be asphalt.